And just to complete that thought, sorry. So I said vocabulary is central to crystallized intelligence.
Yes.
Matrix items are inductive reasoning in general is central to fluid, but fluid in itself is very central to intelligence itself, the structure of intelligence. It's very important. That's why tests like the Ravens are enormously useful, for instance, in HR settings. It's because if you, so again, back to the positive manifold, always back. Everything correlates with everything else positively. Means that if someone's above average on one test, no matter what the test is, you put your money on the person being above average on any random other test, you put your money better than if you put your money against it. So these tests predict one another, sort of. So if someone has an above average spatial ability, you can predict that they will have an above average verbal ability. But this prediction is not very accurate. There will be a lot of error. So if you want to predict someone's mental rotation from their vocabulary, the prediction will be inaccurate. You can to some extent because they correlate positively, but this will not be very accurate.
But the correlation is smaller.
Yes. If you use fluid intelligence for prediction, that's the best you can do pretty much. So fluid intelligence predicts someone's spatial ability and verbal ability better than spatial and verbal predict one another. So if you want to have something that seems very central statistically speaking, statistically speaking, you would say that fluid reasoning tests have the highest G loading of all tests, which means that they correlate most strongly to what's common in all tests than any other kind of test. So if you want to use a single test, then it's a very good decision to use fluid.
Ravens.
And as for selection, to reply to the second question, it always depends on your purpose. I mean, if you want to predict ability or in a job that requires verbal reasoning to a very large extent because for some reason the job requires verbal, then
customer service or jobs where you need to interact.
Then you won't use a spatial ability test. You will use a verbal ability test. If you fluid intelligence is great as a predictor, but if there's a job which is built on routine, so the person will not encounter situations practically ever that would require reasoning on the spot, then it's not very useful. But to be frank, most jobs these days, and especially people talk about jobs of the future, and this is probably what your podcast is about, fluid intelligence will probably be my prediction, will become even more and more important. Simply because there are these predictions. You've probably read a whole lot more on this than I have. So there are these predictions that 30, 40 years from now, like half of the jobs will be such that they don't even exist these days, or 20%, 40%. I don't even know the actual estimates. But if that is the case, that highlights the importance of fluid ability, because people will need to reason on the spot. They will encounter workplace situations when they cannot necessarily apply or acquire skills or knowledge.